What's up, Panther Nation? Bill Mack here with another edition of the Panther Prowl. This is the Week 17 matchup between the Carolina Panthers traveling to Raymond T. James Stadium to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this is not only just a typical late season matchup, this is a divisional matchup that has potential playoff implications, as both of these teams need a win today. And if Tampa Bay pulls out a win, Tampa Bay will pretty much win the NFC South for the 2022-23 season. But if Carolina Panthers pull out this win this week, then they're pretty much in the driver's seat to win out, and they will become the NFC South champions for this season. So this is a kind of you must watch, you must see game, because both of these teams are division rivals. Tom Brady here we see coming at the winding down of his career. He's past his prime, but he's still in the I guess you would say the twilight time of his years. And on the other side we have Sam Darnold, who hasn't quite made the mark he would love to make. However, Sam Darnold has showed in the past 3 or 4 games since being named the starter, since the Panthers traded Baker Mayfield, and Sam coming off an injury that he has rehabbed for sustained early in the preseason. Now it looks like this is an important matchup. Nobody thought after 1-4 the Panthers had fired Matt Rule. The Panthers also traded Christian McCaffrey away. They traded Robbie Anderson away. Nobody thought this team would be where it is now, but Steve Wilkes has really turned this ship around and stirring it in the right direction. He's tried to implement a culture that was once known through the Carolinas and through the Panthers organization as keep pounding, and he has brought that back through a rough ground and pound, control the time clock kind of team. This is what this team has been. They've leaned on the run. They've needed Sam to make plays and not turn over the ball like he has, and everything is working out, and they've gotten behind the coach. This is a very, very important game, because if the Panthers lose this, then there's no tomorrow. They won't win a division. They're out of the playoffs, and they've worked this hard, because you have to understand during this season, at least after I would say Rule was let go, there was a sort of a split between the Panthers fan base. You had half that were kind of like, okay, let's tank and let's get a high quarterback because we don't have a franchise quarterback. We tried through. We had started out with Sam, and we went ahead and drafted Matt Corral. That didn't work out because he got hurt in the 3rd round. He got hurt in the preseason. Sam got hurt in the preseason. Then we traded and got Baker Mayfield in here. That didn't work out because Baker just wasn't who Baker was. Actually, Baker was who Baker was. So then we tried P.J. Walker, who initially wouldn't have been on the team past the preseason. He ended up, just by basically staying on the roster, was named a starter, and it's just been an influx back and forth, and Wilkes having to choose which of these teams, which of these players, quarterbacks would start wherever. But however, as the season has gone on, Sam was made starter the past 4 games. PJ is back up. Matt Corral is on IR, and Baker Mayfield went to LA to the Rams. So now we get to this. Here's where we are today. This is an important matchup with, like I said, with the division. Now, Panthers are coming to into Tampa Bay at 6-9. Tampa Bay now is 7-8. With Tom Brady. Like I said, Tom Brady isn't being very Tom Brady. Of course, he's 45. He's played 22, 23 seasons in the NFL, so you can tell his time pretty much is winding down here. And, of course, the Panthers won their previous matchup back in October, 21-3 at Carolina. And this is pretty much what stopped a 1-5 start. And it kind of sent Carolina on this path to where they've now played over 500 ball the second half of the season, going 5-4. So we see this game will be at 1 o'clock on Fox. This is going to be a game worth watching. Now, if we look all time here, the Panthers, of course, like I said, won the game in October, and Panthers are 25-19, against their history against Carolina. However, Carolina's last win at Tampa Bay came in October of 2017, which was the last season they were gone to the playoffs. So, this is a very important matchup here, a New Year's Day game as well. So that is, Panthers only played This will be their fourth time playing, which they're 1-2, and from dating back from the 2016 season. But this is a game to look forward to. It's just a couple of news updates. J.C. Horn will not be playing this week. He had surgery on Tuesday. Coach Wilkes said on Wednesday, he said that his surgery, wrist surgery, went well, that they would reevaluate him in 10 to 12 days. They'll just have to figure out whether there's a chance for him to play or not. It just remains to be seen. He got hurt in a game last week. He wasn't around the practice field on Wednesday, but he said that Wilkes said talking to the medical team that they were getting good reports and encouraging from CJ. Of course, CJ got hurt the past couple seasons. This was just sort of this is injury that just sort of happened, on a play. But he seems that we know that JC wants to come and pretty much he wants to play. He wants to show him that he can play. And even that broken wrist, we'll just have to wait and see within 10 to 12 days what happens. And I imagine the Panthers pull out a win on Sunday, then the Panthers will pretty much try to get him. But however, I think if it unfortunately goes the other way, it won't be a rush to get JC back. Now, by the injury to the injury to JC, also the IR stint by Dante Jackson, Panthers did make a move this week, a surprise move. Welcome back an old face, Josh Norman to the Carolina Panthers. They signed him on the practice squad in hopes of basically elevating him into it. Now, Josh hasn't been with the team this year, but he did make some plays last year with the 49ers. So he is 35 years old, so we can't expect him to go right in and play a shutdown corner for us. However, he'd probably be on a snap count just to ease him in and whatnot. But they said Wilkes did say looking at Norman, he looked pretty decent, looked pretty good, considering his age and all, and he's just trying to get into game shape. He's in shape, just not game shape. Of course, when you haven't played for a full season, that kind of tends to happen. So it looks like the Panthers are going to have to end up using C.J. Henderson and Keith Taylor, which Keith Taylor will definitely need that mentorship that Norman can provide. Keith Taylor is getting picked on, and it just rightfully just because he hasn't really had all the as much reps and as much time on the field as when you have Dante Jackson on one side, J.C. Horn on the other. That's what's going to tend to happen. So it will be looking forward to having Josh Norman as part of the Panthers, as also contributing to being depth. Also, then in case J.C. comes back, he can be there for him. Now, we flash forward. The Panthers were also, later in the week, they elevated up veteran return man Andre Roberts. Remember, he was in IR. He had been in there for a while. He had been in IR since, I think, September. So having him come back, him to step into the role of being a return man, then we don't have to use Shi Smith and Raheem Blackshear in those punting and returning, punting, kicking off return man goals. They can focus on what they need to. And by having promoted Josh Norman from the practice squad, this will make them pretty much at least some depth there to do that. And so this is much needed because the Panthers haven't had quite the impact on the special teams, especially with the return game. With those guys back there. So this is a welcome thing to happen as well. So Sam Tecklenburg also got elevated to the active list this week, and Cade Mays was a late addition to the injury report. So he is questionable with that. Now, getting into the things here to watch. What the Panthers must do? What are the 5 things to watch in this Week 17 matchup that the Panthers do and that the Panthers need to get this? Because the Panthers really need to win in Tampa Bay. First, one of the first things to watch is and credit the Panthers.com for this article and information, but the Panthers must set up use the run game. The run game is essential. The run game has been the backbone of the Panthers the last few weeks since Wilk has tried to implement that and make that pretty much the basis of what the Panthers are all about, ground and pound, which is what they used to be about. So we have to see now, will they continue with the output that they did against Detroit last week? I don't think so. That is something that is something that doesn't happen pretty much every day, putting up 320 yards on the ground over the Detroit Lions. However, they're going to try their best, and so we see that Dante and Chuba Hubbard their best games they played last week. Chuba had contributed 125 yards against Detroit, which was 5.4 yards per carry. Of course, Deontay Foreman had his fifth 100-yard game, and he ranks third in NFL with 774 yards. So just a couple about 225, 226 more yards, give him 1,000 yards. So he's got to definitely get that. We want to see him get 1,000 yards. He ran for 165 against Detroit, and he also got the NFC Offensive Player of the Week awards by doing that. Now, the Panthers running game, as I said, are averaging 131 yards, which is 10th in the league against Tampa Bay's rushing defense, which is 17th. So Tampa Bay's rushing defense is sort of in the middle of the road. They're allowing 120-some yards per game. Carolina, of course, in their game before that against Tampa Bay, run 173 yards in their Week 7 win. So this is what we definitely need to happen, is just continue running the ball. That worked for us. Second thing we want to do is facing Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Now, we've talked about Tom Brady and his playing ability and everything winding down. He still is good in the fourth quarter. He still has fourth quarter comebacks from weeks in Week 13 against the Saints and being down 10 by the Cardinals in Week 16. Now, however, that can be misleading, as Brady has stunk the first three quarters of those games, mounting the reason to have these comebacks. It would be a different story, and we would attack it a different way if we would pretty much try to, if he was consistent over the whole course of the game. However, we have known Tom Brady this season, as we've noticed his career winding down, is that he's getting slow starts, which is causing him to have to come back in the fourth quarter, which people say, wow, he makes fourth quarter plays. But however we look at it, Tom Brady pretty much creates it at his own self. Doesn't do what the first three quarters, and he had no choice but to come back in the fourth quarter to win. So we're going to have to basically shut him down. The Bucs, of course, we see are a pass-happy team. Brady's got 671 attempts and out of 443 completions to lead the NFL. Of course, well, no duh. I mean, when you're behind, you're going to have to pass the ball. So we're going to pretty much, which leads into our third thing to do, is keep our eyes on the cornerbacks. Like I said, JC's surgery went well. We'll wait and see. He's not playing. We're going to have to rely on Keith Taylor, C.J. Henderson, some limited play from Josh Norman, and try to hope this team, it's always next man up. We say that a lot, but that's what happens. We've got to see these guys really have to step up. And also the Panthers have 9-year veteran TJ Carey, who could be an option if it's needed, which probably will be with that. But we know that I was talking about the number of snaps that Josh Norman has, and he probably won't, and I was just reading, he probably won't have no more than 25 snaps. He can't exceed that. It's just league action and league rules. So it's going to cost the cornerbacks to have to step up against him as well. Now, also, too, next thing would be, leading to the fourth thing, would be protecting the ball. Sam's got to be Sam. Sam's got to continue taking care of the ball, making good decisions, throw the ball when it needs to be thrown away, run if he needs to run. If the run is there, run the ball. Protect the ball out there at all costs. He hasn't committed a turnover in 4 games this year, which is a career long for him. He's had the 5th best passer rating at 104.3 since his Week 12 return among the quarterbacks since then. They have won the turnover battle. They've 2 of the last 3 games, and they hadn't gave up the ball since Week 12 against the Bucs. So they just hadn't committed a turnover in 5 or 6 wins, and they hadn't thrown interceptions. So in their turnovers this year, they've cut down on the turnovers because they're only have turned the ball over 16 times this year, which is 3rd fewest in the NFL. So don't turn the ball over. Protect the ball. Keep making wise decisions. This is a central time to make this, Panther Nation. This is a time for the Panthers to pull all this stuff together, continue another week, get themselves one step closer to getting that NFC South title and going to the playoffs as well. So, and also, last but not least, it would just be injuries. We've just been decimated, of course. A lot of other teams have as well, with with and then Anthony Robertson come back was a good thing. We've also, had different ones on and off the season. Of course, Cade Mays, which he may not be able to play. Defensive end Marquise Haynes had an ankle problem. Tommy Trumbull, the tight end, had a hip problem, but we did hear Wilkes say that he expects them to play. So, Panther Nation, we'll just have to wait and see. I believe they will be wearing blue uniforms this week. So, we're just going to have to hope, fingers crossed, Panther Nation, keep it up. We're definitely going to try our best and see and will this team to a Week 17 victory. So, let's just hope that they pull together in this. Let's just hope that they get a win here, and we'll just see after the close of the game. I will come back to you on the part 2 of the Week 17 matchup. This is after the game. This will be my thoughts, my opinions on what happens after the game. So this is Bill Mack, and we'll pause right here, and we'll come back. We'll be with the review of the game, review what the stats, what happened in the game, any notes and things like that. So fingers crossed, Panther Nation. Panthers will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday in Raymond T. James Stadium. This is for the potential NFC South crown and lead. So we'll pause right here, Panther Nation, and we'll be right back. What's up, Panther Nation? Bill Mack here with another edition of the Panther Proud. This is the Week 17 matchup review of the Carolina Panthers going into the Raymond T. James Stadium in Tampa Bay to face the division leading at the time Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as this was a crucial game for our Panthers, as a win today and a win next week would assure the Panthers of the NFC South division title for the 2022-23 season. Thanks for joining me back here after the game. This video is a couple days late. I've been having a lot going on, but anyways, what a game it was. Our beloved Panthers, of course, if you don't know by now, fell short in the game here, 30-24. And the score really wasn't even as close. Now, this brings the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to even up at 8-8 with a chance to have a winning record at the end of the year. The Panthers, of course, dropped to 6-10, which almost assures them of a top 10 in the upcoming 2023 draft for an NFL. I'll give you a rundown on the scoring drives here, just so we can see. Then we'll talk a little bit about the game, and then we'll get some stats out here. On the first quarter, the Panthers, of course, scored back-to-back games on the opening drive. Sam Darnold hit Tommy Trumbull with a 17-yard pass, going 6 plays for 75 yards. Then in the second quarter, and DJ Moore again caught a 24-yard pass from Sam Darnold, which was an 8-play, 57-yard drive. And so the Panthers were up 14-0. The Panthers, this is where the wheels start to fall off for us in the second quarter, as Tom Brady hits a bomb, a 63-yard bomb, to the first of 3 to Mike Evans, and for a 4-play, 80-yard drive. And then with less than a little over a minute after that, Ryan Suckup hits a 22-yard field goal to go into halftime. Of course, the score is 14-10 going into half, so we're still there so far. A deep pass, we figured, because JC wasn't in the game. DJ is on IR, and it was later stated that JC will be on IR for the next game as well. That having Keith Taylor and having CJ Henderson in was pretty much just a train wreck this game. So we skip to no scoring in the third. Go to the fourth quarter here. Of course, Shi Smith caught a beautiful pass. Now, these touchdown passes Darnold threw were beautiful passes. He did have some beautiful passes along with some not so beautiful passes. However, he caught a 19-yard pass as the Panthers marched down on a 7-play, 91-yard drive. And then this is where, like I said, the wheels fell off. Not in the first quarter, but that was the fourth quarter here. Game was still relatively close at that time. Mike Evans gets a 57-yard bomb from Tom Brady on a 7-play, 91-yard drive. Then we go a minute later, and or not a minute later, about 7 minutes later, then Mike Evans again, yes, you've heard me call his name not once, not twice, but 3 times, catches a 30-yard pass from Tom Brady. And it went 8 plays, 92 yards. So they went and had a 91-yard play, then they turn around, or 75-yard play, then they turn around and had a 92-yard play. So what does that tell us? It's telling us that these the corners weren't ready to handle the job of dealing with Mike Evans today, or Chris Godwin. I know that it was Chris Godwin's name. He caught some passes here. He went over 100 yards on the day. And then Tom Brady did a 1-yard run, and then the kick failed, and then, of course, ending out the scoring on a 49-yard field goal was Eddie Pinheiro. So the Panthers end up losing this game, 30-24, as I stated earlier. It just wasn't their day. I mean, it was just terrible play altogether. It was a mixture of the coaching staff, a mixture of the secondary. They talked to Wilkes after the game. One of the touchdowns, Wilkes said that, Keith Taylor didn't turn his hips quick enough. But I mean, watching the game, they were giving him 15-yard cushions, and they still couldn't stop him. Second play was, Wilkes said he saw that they were doing a max protect, and he should have called maybe a second attempt, coverage 2, to give the cornerback some help over the top. And then he said the second time he called that, and they didn't have help over the top. So I just think it was just a mixture of bad coaching. If you see Mike Evans burn you 3 times and you not putting no kind of help out there, there's a problem. And he was the problem today. Wilkes just did not adjust, and that was the thing we were hoping, was that Wilkes could adjust to it and make plays. Now, of course, we'll get into the breakdown of the stats here. Of course, we'll go about team first. We'll just do team first here. Okay. We had passing first downs. Panthers pretty even, 15-17. Rushing pretty much the same. I mean, everything was pretty much the same. Even on third down efficiency, the Panthers only 4 of 11, but Tampa Bay was only 4 of 15. 2 evenly teams. This matchup was as even, and to say that outside of those 3 deep passes that Tampa Bay had to Evans, there was really not much else going on in that game. There really was nothing else going on. So it's like they're even those 3 passes, because Brady ended up putting up some good numbers, but Sam did as well. Yards per play was pretty even. I mean, everything you look at, total yards, Panthers had 400, Tampa Bay had 478, so they're pretty much even there, with that. Yards per pass, pretty much even. Sacks, the Panthers gave up 2 sacks to Tampa Bay, giving up 3. Rushing, pretty even. Red zone offense, 2 of 2. Panthers are 2 of 2. Made both their touchdowns when they got in the red zone. Of course, Tampa Bay was 1 of 3. Both were even in penalties. I mean, everything was pretty much the time possession. The Buccaneers had 33 minutes. The Panthers had 26 and a half. So everything seemed, if you're looking at the stat boards, pretty much even. I mean, first downs, everything else. So that's just something to see. Very, 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 very well-played game by the Panthers here. Let's go to the individual stats here. Just one second. As we see and getting these stats, let's look at the stats closer here. We'll look at the Panthers first. Sam Darnold was 23 of 37 for 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked twice, had another rating of over 108. So back-to-back games he's had. As Sam has looked consistent outside of today, where he did make a maybe 2 to 3 underthrown passes. One of them was basically like a timing issue, is what Greg Olsen said, and that was to Sullivan near the goal line. Sam was pretty efficient.
He threw the one interception. Of course, he had went that one interception had pretty much been the only interception and turnover up into this game. Now, remember, Sam did have a fumble with the exchange with the center near the end of the half, which that to me was the momentum changer going into halftime for Tampa Bay to come out and do something, because they did receive the ball. Now, like I said, running the ball. Now, my thought on this was the Panthers, Wilkes got away from running the ball. They ran 22 times for 74 collective yards after running 320 and running pretty much over 150, almost 200 in the last 3 or 4 games. Deontay only had 13 carries for 35 yards. It seemed like Wilkes was trying to prove Sam could throw the ball just as well as him running the ball, and it seemed like to me that Wilkes got away from his plan. And to me, a good coach won't deviate from the plan and get away from what's working for him. I think the pressure of him having to perform well today, him having to show that he can have all aspects of the offense to David Tepper, because there was a report that came out before the game stating that whether win or lose, that Tepper's going to look for some offensive-minded coaches and interview for him. That Wilkes was a strong contender because he liked Wilkes' leadership qualities and how he was in the locker room. But, I think to me it was like he had to prove on the offensive side of the ball just as much as he could the defensive side. So that kind of let me know right there that that was a problem. And it looked today like Wilkes altered his plan to show he could throw just as much as Sam could run. But I'm just thinking, go ahead and run the ball. You had the ball 14-0 in the first half. Take the ball and run it down. Now, mind you, they may try to stop you, but the run is your bread and butter. You don't get away from it. Just pass, because the more you pass, the more you give higher percentage of chances of getting turnovers than handing the ball off. It's just plain and simple. But 74 yards total rushing amongst 4 people today, including Darnold himself, which had 5 carries for 20 yards. Now, receiving the ball, DJ had another great day. He went over 100 yards yet again. 6 catches for 117 yards with a touchdown. Shi Smith, like I said, there was 3 passing touchdowns. Shi Smith caught another one. He had 4 catches for 70 yards. And, of course, Tommy Tremble had 3 catches for 33 yards with a touchdown. So it seemed like to me like Tommy Tremble's been getting in there. Maybe there's a bright side to him if the new coach or whoever's going to be here is going to use the tight ends. I mean, he's come through. I mean, he's not being a normal, continuous like Greg Olsen, where he's a security blanket like Greg Olsen was to Cam when Cam was here. But it looks like Tommy Tremble's trying to excel a little bit. He got some passes last week. He got some this week. Even John Ritchie had one of the first few plays of the game, a 32-yard catch, but then they didn't go back to him anymore. Of course, Marshall had a couple catches. Chenault had a couple catches. So, I mean, they went for 341 yards. Sam, of course, had 3 fumbles, like I told you about. 2 of them were lost. Did he recover one of them? And I don't know. I hated it. It seemed like everything fell apart for them today. Defensive-wise, let's look at defense here for the Panthers. Frankie Louvu had 13 tackles. Great day for Louvu. Had a sack and 3 tackles for loss, so he would have been my defensive player. Also, Jeremy Chin had 12 tackles, and Shaq Thompson had 12 tackles. So those 3 guys, double-digit tackles. We also go to see Marquise Haynes Sr., 4 tackles, 3 of those solo. He did have a sack and 2 tackles for loss. So Marquise, yet again, contributing in with a sack. YGM had a decent game, 4 tackles. He had 1 sack and 1 tackle for a loss. So Panthers ended up getting 3 sacks on Tom Brady, and the defense with a few tackles for loss. Great job for them today. Icky gave up. Icky wasn't as Icky has been the last few weeks. Looked real shaky and whatnot. Panera, of course, we give him a shout out. Eddie Panera, 1 of 1 field goal and 3 of 3 in extra points for a total of 6 points today. Good job for him. Hecker, of course, always outstanding job. 5 punts for 251 yards, 50 averaging. 3 of those 5 inside the 20. man keeps doing his job. So we got our ace here. It remains to see on what the Panthers are going to do with Panera, whether they re-sign him or try to bring Zane Gonzalez back in. I mean, it just remains to be seen. My boy Chris Dunn from State is graduating. I would love to see him come to Charlotte and get a chance to kick. He was almost near perfect his senior year. He won the award. I guess his best kicker award. I couldn't remember the name of it, but it was best kicker award, and he was like 28 or 29 this year for field goals. I would love to see him come in. He's a young kicker, and it'll be great to see him, come in and do some damage here. Now, let's go over here to Tampa Bay. Of course, Tom Brady, the ageless wonder, was 45 attempts. Now imagine that, 45 passing attempts. Again, you call a 45-year-old to throw 45 times for 432 yards. He was sacked 3 times for 21-yard loss and had a 127 rating. But of course, most of that, like I said, was dink and dump stuff. He wasn't really passing the ball. It was just really deep passes. I mean, you pass to Evans 3 straight times, and he can get you 60-some yards per one. That helps your average up quite a bit. The Panthers did shut down. They did do their part in shutting down the rushing game. Again, the Tampa Bay rushing running backs didn't get much, as they got a total of 25 carries for 67 yards, with Leonard Fournette getting 10 carries, 28 yards, and Rashad White getting 11 carries for 22 yards. So Tom Brady did get a sneak in there for a touchdown. Yay. Mike Evans blew everybody away. Chris Godwin contributed as well. 10 receptions, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 63-yarder, his longest. He was targeted 12 times, caught 10 receptions, so he only missed the ball twice. Godwin, he was 9 of 9, targeted 9 times, received 9 times for 120 yards. And Russ Gage and the rest of them contributed in, putting it at 334 receptions amongst the wide receivers for 432 yards. Big bombs by them is what's going to happen when that happens. Chris Godwin fumbled one, but he lost it. And we saw that Vita V, which we were kind of worried coming in to him back playing today, and contributing. He did get a recovery, and so did Devin White. So the 2 of the Panthers fumbles, those 2 guys recovered. Tampa Bay's defense, Levante David had 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Antoine Winfield Jr. had 6 tackles for 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss. William Golston, 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Anthony Nelson had a sack as well. So those were the 2 sacks the Panthers got. Sean Murphy-Bunting got the interception. Like I said, that was right near the goal line. That was like it was just underthrown just a little bit, because it looked like Sullivan would have had it if it had just been a little bit higher up, but it was just a little short. He wasn't able to wrestle it away. Suckup was 1 of 3 for field goals and 1 of 2 extra points, so not a typical day for him. Just a terrible game altogether today, Panther Nation. Really, really terrible game to us today. I mean, I just hated seeing them play like they played. It was just a terrible all-around effort, especially for them to know this had playoff implications to it. No matter what the Panthers do next week means absolutely nothing. They had to win this game. It was essential, and then there was just no makeup whatsoever. So shout out to the Panther special teams. Shout out to Sam Darnold for having a pretty decent game today. Shout out for DJ Moore. I would just question Wilkes not making any adjustments and letting Evans run wild on him. That defense. We knew the secondary was going to be shorthanded, but you can't do nothing but step up. You got to step up. You got to make plans. Your 2 best cornerbacks are not going to be there. You'd make plans and make schemes to where they get help. I mean, if your line needs help running the ball, and when your lineman gets hurt, you get the tight end in there, put him in there to help him with the blocking. That's what you do, and you make adjustments to what your inefficiencies are, and that's just what Wilkes didn't do. So this did not help. Also, Wilkes' chances of solidifying the job. I mean, he's done well with what he's had, but sometimes it just isn't enough. But we'll wait to see, Panther Nation. I mean, terrible, terrible loss here. We really needed this game. So next week against Next game will be our last game of the season, Week 18, against the New Orleans Saints at New Orleans. So we'll see how that plays out. Everybody's playing. Everybody's going to try to come out on a winning note, but it'll be. Are they going to be 7-10? Or are they going to be 6-11? Just depends. But either way, Panther Nation, tough loss for us. Tough loss. Just an all-around effort to see the last 3 or 4 weeks and to fall short, and so many different things not work right in this game. But anyways, Panther Nation, I hope you enjoyed the video as always. Like, share, subscribe the videos on my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave any comments, opinions, thoughts in the comment box. I will get back to them as always, and I will definitely appreciate all the videos, all the love I get. Share the videos to as many people as you can, Panther Nation. And I'll be back next week with a season finale, a Week 18 matchup of division rivals, the Carolina Panthers traveling to New Orleans, Louisiana to take on the New Orleans Saints. So until next time, Panther Nation, this is Bill Mack with the Panther Prowl saying, keep pounding.
Oh,